I went from being mocked to being the boss. Before we get started, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. It helps us bring you even more epic stories. I never thought being good at my job would make me a target. But there I was, the new guy at the office, getting mocked and humiliated by my coworkers simply because I care about doing things right. It all started on my first day. I walked into the office with my coffee in one hand and a notebook in the other, ready to make a good impression. I've been hired as a junior analyst at a mid-sized marketing firm, and I was determined to prove myself. But from the moment I stepped into the bullpen, I could feel the tension. My coworkers, seasoned employees who'd been there for years, eyed me with a mix of curiosity and disdain. "Look who's here," one of them, a guy named Greg, said with a smirk. The overachiever. I laughed it off, thinking it was just harmless banter. But I quickly realized it wasn't. Greg and his clique, Sarah, Mike, and Jen, made it their mission to make my life miserable. They mocked me for taking notes during meetings, for double-checking my work, and for asking questions to make sure I understood everything. "You don't have to be perfect, you know," Sarah said during one meeting, rolling her eyes as I reviewed my presentation for the third time. "I'm just trying to do my best," I replied, my voice calm. "Well, your best is making the rest of us look bad," Greg muttered under his breath. The others laughed, and I felt my face flush with embarrassment. The mockery reached its peak during a team project. We were tasked with creating a marketing campaign for a new client, and I poured my heart into it. I stayed late, researched tirelessly, and came up with a strategy that I was genuinely proud of. But when I presented my ideas to the team, they tore them apart. "This is way too detailed," Mike said, shaking his head. "No one's going to read all this." "Yeah, you're overthinking it," Jen added. "Just keep it simple like the rest of us." I tried to defend my work, but they weren't interested. They dismissed my ideas and went with a half-baked plan that was good enough. What my coworkers didn't realize was that our boss, Mr. Carter, had been watching. He noticed my dedication, my attention to detail, and the way I handled their criticism with grace. One day, he called me into his office. "I've been keeping an eye on you," he said, his tone serious. "And I have to say, I'm impressed." I blinked, surprised. "Thank you, sir. You've got a knack for this," he continued. "And frankly, you're doing a better job than some of the senior staff." I didn't know what to say. "Keep it up," Mr. Carter said with a smile. "I think you've got a bright future here." A few weeks later, Mr. Carter announced that he was stepping down as department head. The news sent shockwaves through the office, and everyone started speculating about who would take his place. Greg and his clique were convinced it would be one of them. "It's obviously going to be me," Greg said, puffing out his chest. "I've been here the longest." "Yeah, right," Sarah replied with a laugh. "If anyone's getting promoted, it's me." They didn't even consider me. The day of the announcement, the entire department gathered in the conference room. Mr. Carter stood at the front, a smile on his face. "I'm proud to announce that your new department head is someone who's shown exceptional dedication, creativity, and leadership," he said. Greg and Sarah exchanged smug looks, clearly convinced it was one of them. "Congratulations," Mr. Carter said, his eyes landing on me. "You've earned it." The room fell silent. The moment Mr. Carter announced my promotion, the room erupted into chaos. Greg's jaw dropped, Sarah's face turned bright red, and Mike and Jen exchanged stunned looks. Greg said, his voice dripping with disbelief. "You're promoting him?" Mr. Carter's expression hardened. "Yes, Greg, I'm promoting him. And if you have a problem with that, you're welcome to take it up with HR." Greg didn't say another word, but the look on his face said it all. Walking into the office as the new department head was surreal. My former coworkers, now my subordinates, avoided eye contact, their faces a mix of resentment and embarrassment. I called a team meeting that morning to set the tone. "I know this is a big change," I said, my voice calm but firm, "but I'm here to make sure we succeed as a team. Let's leave the past behind and focus on doing great work." Greg snorted, earning a sharp look from me. "Something to add, Greg?" I asked, raising an eyebrow. He shook his head, his face red. Despite my attempts to keep things professional, the tension in the office was palpable. Greg and his clique started spreading rumors, claiming I'd stolen the promotion and that I wasn't qualified for the role. "He's just a kiss up," Greg said during one lunch break, loud enough for me to hear. "Yeah, Mr. Carter probably just felt sorry for him," Sarah added. I didn't engage. I knew better than to feed into their drama. My first big test as department head came when we landed a major client. The project was high stakes, and the entire team needed to be on board. I called a meeting to assign roles and responsibilities. "Greg, you'll be leading the research team," I said. Greg's eyes narrowed. "Why me?" "Because you're good at it," I replied, my tone neutral. He didn't respond, but I could tell he wasn't happy. Greg and his clique didn't take their new roles well. They started slacking off, missing deadlines, and even sabotaging the project. "I don't see why we have to work so hard," Greg said during one meeting. "It's not like he's doing any of the real work." I felt a surge of anger, but I kept my cool. "If you're not willing to do the job, I'll find someone who is," I said, my voice firm. Greg didn't respond, but the tension in the room was thick. The final straw came when Greg deliberately botched a crucial part of the project, causing us to miss a major deadline. "What happened?" I asked, my voice calm but firm. Greg shrugged. "I got busy. It's not my fault." I stared at him, my jaw tightening. "This is unacceptable, Greg. You're putting the entire project at risk. Maybe if you weren't such a control freak, we'd actually get something done." Greg shot back. The room fell silent. I called Greg into my office later that day. "You're being reassigned," I said, my voice firm. Greg's eyes widened. "What? You can't do that." "I can, and I will," I replied. Your behavior is affecting the entire team, and I'm not going to let you sabotage this project. Greg stared at me, his face red with anger. You're making a huge mistake. Maybe, I said, but it's my mistake to make. Reassigning Greg sent shockwaves through the office. Sarah, Mike, and Jen started treating me with a mix of fear and resentment, but they didn't dare cross me again. As for Greg, he quit a week later, claiming I'd forced him out. Reassigning Greg was a turning point for the team. It sent a clear message. I wasn't going to tolerate sabotage or disrespect. But while it solved one problem, it created others. Sarah, Mike, and Jen were still bitter, and the tension in the office was thicker than ever. Sarah, Mike, and Jen didn't take Greg's departure well. They started banding together, whispering in corners and giving me the cold shoulder. He's just trying to flex his power, Sarah said during one lunch break, loud enough for me to hear. Yeah, he's going to run this place into the ground, Mike added. I didn't engage. I knew better than to feed into their drama. The tension came to a head when we hit a major snag in the project. The client was unhappy with our progress, and we were at risk of losing the account. I called an emergency meeting to regroup. We need to step up, I said, my voice firm. This project is too important to fail. Sarah rolled her eyes. Maybe if you hadn't driven Greg away, we wouldn't be in this mess. I felt a surge of anger, but I kept my cool. Greg's choices are his own, I replied. Right now, we need to focus on fixing this. If anyone isn't willing to do that, they're welcome to leave. The room fell silent. The next few days were a whirlwind of late nights and intense collaboration. I worked alongside the team, leading by example and showing them that I wasn't just there to boss them around. I was there to get the job done. Slowly, things started to change. I think we can salvage this, Jen said during one late night brainstorming session. Yeah, if we tweak the strategy, we might be able to turn it around, Mike added. I nodded, feeling a glimmer of hope. Let's do it. Our hard work paid off. We presented the revised strategy to the client, and they loved it. This is exactly what we were looking for, the client said, a smile on their face. The team erupted into cheers, and for the first time in weeks, I felt like we were actually working together. After the client meeting, the atmosphere in the office started to shift. Sarah, Mike, and Jen stopped their whispering and started treating me with a grudging respect. You really pulled it off, Sarah said one day, her tone hesitant. We pulled it off, I replied, emphasizing the we. She nodded, a small smile on her face. The final test came when Mr. Carter called me into his office. I've been keeping an eye on things, he said, his tone serious. And I have to say, I'm impressed. You've handled a tough situation with grace and professionalism. Thank you, sir, I said, feeling a surge of pride. Keep it up, Mr. Carter said with a smile. I think you've got a bright future here. The project's success marked a turning point for the team. The tension that had once filled the office was replaced with a sense of camaraderie and mutual respect. Sarah, Mike, and Jen stopped their whispering and started treating me like a leader. Not because they had to, but because they wanted to. The office became a completely different place. Instead of mocking me for being too good, my coworkers started asking for my advice and feedback. What do you think of the strategy? Jen asked one day, holding up a draft of her proposal. It looks solid, I said, scanning the document. But maybe we can tweak the timeline to make it more realistic. Jen nodded, a smile on her face. Good call. Thanks. It was a small moment, but it meant a lot. The ultimate flex came during our annual performance reviews. Mr. Carter asked me to sit in on the meetings, and I took the opportunity to address the team's progress. You've all come a long way, I said, my voice calm but firm, and I'm proud of the work we've done together. Sarah, Mike, and Jen exchanged glances, their faces a mix of pride and embarrassment. But there's always room for improvement, I continued. Let's keep pushing ourselves to do better. The team nodded, and for the first time, I felt like we were truly on the same page. A few months later, Mr. Carter announced that he was retiring. I'm proud to announce that your new department head is someone who's shown exceptional dedication, creativity, and leadership, he said, his eyes landing on me. The room erupted into applause, and I felt a surge of pride. With the team behind me, I knew we could achieve great things. We landed more clients, won industry awards, and became one of the top-performing departments in the company. As for Greg, I heard through the grapevine that he'd landed a job at a smaller firm. Part of me hoped he'd learn from his mistakes, but another part of me knew that until he faced his own issues, he'd keep repeating the same patterns. If you made it this far, you must have enjoyed it. So hit that subscribe button, and let's keep the stories coming.